Hola mi gente, soy yo de MIGeekScene. Estoy aquí en Shuto Con y tengo al lado a la actriz de voz Monica Rial. Monica, bienvenida de regreso a Michigan. ¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, ¿y tú?
No, that's about the extent of my Spanish.
I was all excited. I was like, oh my God.
For y'all at home, know that her jaw dropped.
I was like,
I wish this was on camera. But also, I have two other people here with me, folks, and I'm about to introduce them. Alle Wochen, guten Tag, hier ist Joe von MIGeekScene. Ich bin aus Shuto Con, hier mit Tyson Rinehart und Ian Sinclair. Tyson und Ian, willkommen Sie aus Michigan. Wie geht es Ihnen?
Dankeschön.
Danke.
So,
Alles gut, danke.
Yeah, alles gut. Yeah.
well, this is my first ever, 3-on-1 interview, and actually it's fitting because this is the 3-year anniversary of MIGeekScene.
Oh, congrats, man.
Yes, I have been preparing that for you folks, just in case. Ian, you weren't originally going to be a German intro, but you decided to hang out with me and Tyson at the same time, and Monica at the last moment came on, and I'm like, awesome. So,
well, I'm glad you had the Spanish prepared. That's awesome.
Yeah, yes.
well, how was it pronunciation-wise?
Very, very good.
Most excellent.
Muy bueno, sí. Me gusta, me gusta.
Well, for you folks, this is an audio interview, so for you who don't know, I'm interviewing Ian Sinclair, Tyson Rinehart, and certainly last but not least, but first time here on MIGeekScene, Monica Rial.
Woohoo!
So how is everyone doing?
Great.
Bueno.
Rock and roll.
Muy buena.
Well, all right.
Hey.
Monica, I've asked these two in the past this question, so I'll start off with you. This is usually what I ask most voice actors and actresses about. First exposure to anime.
My first exposure to anime was when I went to go visit my family in Spain. My family's from Spain, surprise. And when we went to go visit, my little brother fell in love with a cartoon that was on the television called Las Bolas de Dragón. Yes. And so he didn't speak Spanish well enough, so I'd have to translate everything for him. So I've pretty much played every character in Dragon Ball before I played any characters in Dragon Ball. And then when we came back to the States, I was like, oh God, hopefully that Dragon Ball stuff just doesn't follow me home. And sure enough, 3 years later, the Macarena and Dragon Ball followed me home. And then here we are all these years later. But yeah, he started getting into stuff like Akira and Ghost in the Shell. And then I was like, okay, I can get into that. That came back to bite me in the butt later on when I was cast as Bulma. And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm glad I know all that stuff about Dragon Ball from before. But yeah, that's how I first found out about it.
So thoughts on Bulma's character evolution since you've been playing as her in both Kai and Super?
Oh gosh, it's so cool because she's so much more a part of the story than she was before, and she's such a good role model for girls. Like she proves to the audience like you can be hot and sexy and smart and an inventor and have all the men terrified of you, and that's totally okay. So I love that she empowers women, and she's gotten so sassy. Oh God, like in Fighters, she's all up in Cell's face. She doesn't even care.
Yeah. No, she saves the world more times than Goku just in Super alone.
Exactly.
In the end, and kind of like, okay, I made the touchdown, but that was Bulma repeatedly. You know, with the slap, with all these different moments, it was Bulma.
Yeah.
And since you are bilingual, have you been contacted to be the voice of Bulma in the Spanish renditions of
Oh,
Dragon Ball?
no, but that would be really cool because that's the first cast that I ever heard was the Spanish cast. You know what I mean? So I'm like, that'd be really cool to meet them. So I keep hoping that I'll get to go to a con with like Spanish Goku or something.
Bola del Dragón? Is it? Del Dragón.
But I don't want to neglect you two. I wanted to talk to you about Bakano because you were Dallas Genoward.
Yeah.
Was there anyone that you were basing that character on because you had a distinct accent for that character?
No, yes and no. No. Actually, no. I based it around an accent first. I just kind of, doing one of those guys. We all heard about, And it just kind of evolved with Tyler. That was around the time that I was finding myself as a guy who liked to play people who shrug, who are jerks. And it really, that plus the time that I had spent in, up north, I was able to mix a bunch of different accents, and yeah, it's Dallas.
I mean,
It does not sound like he's from Dallas.
And dude, I promise I'm going to get to you, Tyson. But I have to give you props, and it's certainly not a backhanded compliment, Monica, because after doing some research, I found out that you were Shanae Laporte, and I was like, are you kidding? I was like, I did not recognize your voice at first. Granted, you spoke you didn't speak a whole lot in that show, but I was like very impressed by that, and
Thank
I'm
you.
hoping that the show comes back for a season 2 down the road. I know like it might be a pipe dream, but because there's so many light novels that they have yet to cover for their show.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I know that I loved Chane because she didn't have any lip flaps. Everything was like kind of set in her head. Yes, and I had also just come back from France, and Tyler was like, I need you to do just a little bit of a French accent. And I was like, oh, I can do that. That is totally
A
fine.
French accent.
Yes, it was wonderful.
Because I have done my intro in French. I did that with J. Michael Tatum and caught him off guard too.
I'm sure he loved it.
Oh yeah.
And it's not like it's a gimmick. It's just like I figured that would be something that separates me from everybody else.
It's a good one. I like it.
So Tyson, last time we talked a little bit about Attack on Titan going into season 2 potentially. Yes, it's a microphone. What are you doing?
Sorry, for those at home, Monica was holding it. And I was like, it's okay, I can hold it for you.
Okay. So we were talking about the eventual season of Attack on Titan, season 2, should I say. Yeah. So now that you've done the writing for season 2, what were your thoughts on the show compared to season 1?
Didn't write season 2.
All right, I am a fraud when it comes to doing my research.
That I believe
Wow.
was entirely Tatum. Michael Tatum took the lead on that because the entire way that we approach script writing has changed between the 2 seasons because there was enough time in between the 2 seasons. I was busy helming my own show at the time. I can't even remember if it was Heavy Object or whatever. But yeah, no, it's unfortunately I did not write that one.
You could have told me that, bruh, before we did the interview.
I know my Twitter handle is Attack on Tyson. I'm just a fraud now.
No, it's all good. But did you ever check out season 2?
I have yet to. Yeah.
We'll ignore the follow-up questions. I had nothing but Attack on Titan, just nothing but Attack on Titan for you. But however, while doing my research, I did finally check out Steins Gate and the movie. So I loved your line from Daru about going to see a man about a unicorn. And I actually had to look that up. Considering that the show is similar to Groundhog's Day, I wonder how many days or years that Okabe kept time jumping. But can you answer this for me, since you were a part of the show? What was the whole point of Mayuri's character?
Mayuri was very much the heart of the Future Gadget Lab. You have Okabe and you've got Daru, and they're both kind of like 2 different hemispheres of the brain of the Future Gadget Lab. And then you've got Kurisu, who comes in there, and she's like the medulla oblongata who keeps like everything going. But the entire time, Mayushi is there pumping the blood throughout the rest of the organization, making sure everybody's fed and warm and their clothes are mended and clean, and just generally being like the cool friend / sort of mother figure that all these misfits need.
So why was the Alpaca Man one of your favorite characters?
Alpaca Man, I feel, needs his own spin-off, frankly. I also would like very much to play the Alpaca Man computer experience. I'm hoping you don't need to do any CDOS to activate that, because it's been a while.
So, thoughts on John Titor?
John Titor is actually part of the reason how I feel I got the role of Daru, is because going into it, I saw John Titor was one of the audition sides, and I was like, oh, I actually know about this guy. He is purportedly an actual time traveler, and he has been around and he has predicted the coming of World War III, etc. And I'd heard about it and spent many nights staying up drinking with a buddy talking about conspiracy theories, and John Titor was one of those things. So stepping into the audition, I was like, oh, I actually know about this John Titor guy. And like, oh, we weren't sure if it was John Titor or Titor. I was like, well, I've heard John Titor. And from that point on, it was kind of like, cool, I feel pretty strongly that I'm properly associated with this show.
Speaking of, I heard there's rumblings of a 2nd season, and I'm hoping that actually comes out over here.
Yeah, it's about to release in a couple weeks in Japan, and so hopefully we will be tackling a simul-dub of that. I have yet to hear anything, though. So.
All right, Ian, on to you. I had
Yes.
I finally checked out Chariot when you played Aiden. So I know it's one of those generic questions, so I apologize for that. So what was your experience like on that? Because I'm surprised your character didn't get punched in the mouth in the script.
Mike, well, my character wasn't punched in the mouth in the script because, in my belief, Eric Vale was writing himself into the show. When I played Aiden, I was playing angry Eric Vale, and so I went with that. That was my whole process.
Was it?
No, for real. Like, I knew my friend. I know what he's like when he's angry, so I knew how to yell his lines the way that Eric would yell it, and just kind of went with it. Besides that, like Jeremy Inman was on, and a bunch of other, and Donald Schultz and Callan Boss, a bunch of people that I worked with through Okratron and Funimation were in it, and Brina was in it, and so
Yeah, I thought it was a very good movie, and I like the subtle hinted ending. If you stayed all the way through, because I was like, wow, that's a bummer of an ending. But then I won't spoil it for you folks, but I had to do some legwork to track down that film, dude.
I will tell Eric it's not being distributed well enough.
Very good job, though.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate
So,
that.
Ian, I will segue this question into Monica, because one of the last times I talked to you, you were pranked by Christopher Sabat. So, Monica, I know that you've been pranked by Christopher Sabat with the whole Lero thing. What other pranks has he pulled on you?
That's really the only one because Christopher knows better. He learns quickly and he knows better than to mess with me. I know where he lives. I know the names of his children.
So you haven't pranked him back?
I am friends with his wife. No, not yet. I will find an opportunity and he will go down.
Tyson, have you been pranked by him?
No, because I have a passcode on my phone.
Yeah, that goes a long
It
way.
goes a long way. It really does.
Well, speaking of pranks, Monica, I know that you pranked Shinichi Watanabe, a.k.a. Nabashin.
Oh, God, yes.
So what was the prank that you pulled on the director of Excel Saga?
So way back when, the first time that Shinichi had been to, or Nabashin had been to the United States, we were about to do an Excel Saga panel, and my character in Excel Saga dies repeatedly of like the consumption and vomits everywhere.
Hyatt.
So yes, Hyatt. So she is awesome. And so I thought, you know, it'd be really funny. And I mentioned this to David Williams and Matt Greenfield from ADV, and I'm like, you know, it'd be funny is if I got some tomato juice. And I told them, they were like, you should totally do that. So somebody asked a question of me, and I took some tomato juice under the table when nobody saw, and somebody asked a question. I was like, and like coughed tomato juice all over the front of me. I've never seen a small Japanese man jump up so fast. He's like, oh. He thought I was dying, and I was like, no. And he goes, oh, Genki Hot-chan.
Every time I think about him, I think about when Tyson and I were getting into this business and we're starting doing all that. And I went to one of my first cons, and Nabashin was there, and I was freaking out because Tyson and I had watched Excel Saga together, and Tyson's like, "Hey man, if he's in there, give me an autograph." And so I was like, I'm gonna get my friend an autograph, and I got him an Excel Saga lunchbox. And he's like, "Who's this to?" And I said, "Tyson." And he has this lunchbox that is autographed to Ty-san. Ty-san.
T-A-I.
T-A-I? Oh, even better. Ty-san. And it's in his house. It's awesome. It's
Most authentic.
and he also gave me the after the hurricane or the tsunami at one point. He gave the "powerfully alive" tweet. He was like, "Nabashin is powerfully alive," and I use that still. I was like, "How are you doing today?" "I am powerfully alive."
I would love to meet that dude. Not
Yes,
necessarily,
you would. He's awesome.
Because back in the day, I'll show you at some point, all three of you, like, I have a picture of me when I used to have an afro. Like, I had, like, a solid 6-inch afro for about 8 months, and then, like, when I got it cut off, I had a high-top fade, like Kid and Play. And I purposely went out of my way to get a cheesy tracksuit, and, like, I posted on, like, Plenty of Fish for, like, my dating profile at the time. I was like, "Are you ready for a house party?" You know?
That's awesome.
But I had mentioned Excel Saga because you were in that, Monica, but you were also Shi Asu on Puni Puni Poemi.
Yes, gosh, I haven't heard that show in forever. Oh my gosh, she was awesome.
thoughts on that show? I know it was only 2 episodes. And also, congrats to you for being part of the first ever 5.1 commentary track in the world ever.
Thank you. Yeah, that was super cool. We had 10 people on one commentary track.
Yes.
It was kind of ridiculous. We had all the booths open and we were all talking back and forth. I think I was sitting next to Chris Patton and trying to stick my finger up his nose because that's what I do. But yeah, that show was hilarious. I think what I loved most about She is her giant boobs.
Yes.
And how she would just lay them on people's heads.
Yes.
It was such a really, it was kind of a real thing. Because, if you're a woman and you have boobs that giant, it would hurt. So she would, put them on people's heads and be like, oh, so much better. You know what I mean? Just rest them on things. I'm like, it's ridiculous, but it's true.
So, Tyson, have you finally watched Puni Puni Poemi? Because last time we talked, you had no. Seriously?
I have not. No, I'm sorry. But I have watched Excel Saga, and I actually was watching Excel Saga in college while I was, pursuing my Bachelor of Fine Arts. And I had just taken a theater history course where we talked about Artaud and the theater of cruelty and all these new approaches to theater in the 20th century. And I was just like, Excel Saga kind of is theater of cruelty. It's constantly denial of expectation and all these wonderful tropes that are like done in revolutionary theater kind of stuff, and it's on this like bizarre anime that just I was lucky enough to have a friend be like, you should totally check this out, you're gonna like it. And I did, and I like thought about writing a dissertation on it had I needed to go that far. I was like, so the main character dies 4 times in the first episode. The will of the cosmos is like, we can't have a show without you, and it's genius. Yeah, I was always a big fan, and now I get to hang out with some of the people who helped make it a thing I enjoyed, and that's awesome.
Yeah, actually, Monica, that was my first exposure to you ever, because I bought the original box set like well over a decade ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Well, no, I mean,
A long
you have.
time ago.
Oh, come on now. I'm not even trying to be like back in her day.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it really was. Like, sometimes we forget. Like, I was talking to Patton yesterday, and we've been doing this for about 20 years. So it's like, you wake up one day and you're like, oh God, when did I do all this anime? But you remember them all. But it doesn't seem like it's been 20 years. It feels like it's been like 5 years, and I just was really, really busy.
Where did my 20s go? Oh, wait. Oh, they're in all these DVDs.
Yeah.
I mean, because that was a great comedic show, which leads to my next question for, well, actually, it was going to start off with Tyson, but it could be for everybody. You have a comedic background. You spent time with the ad-libs. Do you have any influential comedians or favorite comedians? And everyone can answer this.
Yes.
I mean, some of my older Inspirato comedians aren't necessarily appropriate in the current day, and some of them have also lost a lot of their cred that they had. And I don't know, that's being very judgmental, but Eddie Murphy, Delirious, Eddie Murphy Raw, that is like some prime stuff. It is not suitable for a modern politically correct audience necessarily, but there's some intense, really funny stuff in that. Dan Cummings is a contemporary comic who I'm a big fan of.
I've heard of him.
He did a comedy album called Crazy with a capital F, and he's got some really good stuff in there. And Patton Oswalt and Brian Posehn I'm a big fan of too, because they're both nerds like I am, and watching them on the Comedians of Comedy, where it was the two of them, Zach Galifianakis and Maria Bamford, all funny people, but they all traveled on a bus together, and it was a reality TV show about comedians going around on the comedy circuit. And like every town that they would pull into, Zach Galifianakis and Maria Bamford would make fun of Brian Posehn and Patton Oswalt because they would spend an hour going to the comic store and like handing off like, I got this Silver Surfer, let me see your Green Arrow, and like just doing that, and they're like, nerd,
Posehn got to write Deadpool.
Yes, and he did a great job.
You read those with the presidents?
Yes.
Good stuff.
So, what about you two? Favorite comedians?
Are we talking specifically stand-up or just funny people?
Funny people. How about that? You can do both.
I think for me, I really loved Carol Burnett and Lily Tomlin. Like, those were my two ideals.
I have Lily Tomlin on this.
Yeah,
And
I love her. When I was growing up, like, and especially in college, like I did, she's got the one woman show Across the Universe, or I forget what it's called now. It's been such a long time. But I did a whole bunch of scenes from that from college. But as far as like, I like my stand-up pretty hardcore. I love me some Richard Pryor.
Oh, yeah.
I love some Doug Stanhope.
Yeah.
I like foul
Doug
comedy.
Stanhope is probably one of the most depressing comics ever, but I love his stuff.
Have you heard Bob Saget?
Oh yeah.
That's weird dark.
Bob Saget's dark just for being dark.
He wants to be dark.
But Doug Stanhope's comedy, like, there's no hope when he just starts
No.
breaking it down. You know?
Yeah, he's pretty hardcore, but there's something about it that there's that realness, that reality to it that's like, wow, this sucks, but man, I can't stop laughing.
Did you ever check out like those? It was like on a British channel. They were like doing like these little short comedy things with Doug Stanhope talking about various topics in America.
No.
And it was just like so random. But he would like, I can't repeat any of this because I don't
Right.
curse, but I allow my guests to curse. But he was talking about like how pretty much like soccer moms are creating bigger carbon footprints by popping out more kids instead of driving eco-friendly. I mean, like, they think they're saving the earth by driving eco-friendly cars, but he's like, no, when you pop out more kids, that's raising so he's like, don't screw in the F-hole. You know, it's like...
I like how you tried to play that down.
All right, well, actually, I'll silence my...
Yeah.
No, I'll silence myself on this part when it gets to it. So basically, he said, like, in order to stop the carbon footprint, don't in the... That's what he was basically getting at, so...
I like how he thinks we didn't get it the first time he said it.
Well,
I'm with you, brother.
I think I'm going to cut that out altogether.
Nope. If that is not in the final interview, never again.
Never again?
For me, Robin Williams. I was a big Jim Carrey fan growing up. But for me, I know, of course I was. It makes so much sense. As far as comedians go, I listen to stand-up all the time. George Carlin was real big for me. Early Daniel Tosh I really liked. The way that he and his first stuff how he would formulate his jokes I was really into. Robin Williams. Big in Robin Williams.
Bill Hicks, anyone?
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. Dennis Leary's CD, I listened. No Cure for Cancer, I listened, like, till that thing almost broke. Adam Sandler CDs, I think, had a big influence on me as a voice actor.
Like, What the Hell happened to me?
What the hell happened to me, yeah.
Oh, my
They're
goodness.
all going to laugh at you.
Medium Pace.
Oh, dude.
One of the most romantic songs ever.
I was doing the impressions of the goat and like the guy coming in there, hey man, I got a snake. I was doing that kind of stuff in high school. Those albums, those dirty comedy albums were contraband for me because I was going to a Christian school and I'm in Dallas and I was like a 13-year-old like looking for the guy and everybody else was like, hey man, let's go find somebody to find us cigarettes or beer. And I was like, I want to get that Adam Sandler CD. It says bad words and he does funny voices.
They superimposed me. And he was like walking away, what's superimposed?
Got a big old knot on your head. How about you not mention that again?
Yeah. So I'll follow up the comedy question. Like, do you feel there should be limits on comedy? Like, are there topics that are taboo that you shouldn't bring up in the comedic form?
The only issue, comedy equals tragedy plus time. So the only way that it's not appropriate is if you misread your equation on how much time has passed.
Yeah.
Too soon is the only time that it's not appropriate.
So everything is on the table
everything's
eventually.
on the table eventually.
Got it. Cool. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't like mean humor for the sake of mean humor. I think eventually at some point that's just easy.
So not Lisa Lampanelli or anything like that?
Lisa has her moments. She really does. And if you're there to be a roaster, then yes, be as mean as humanly possible. That's your job. Do your job.
Well, one that was very mean that I thoroughly enjoyed until I thought about how mean it was on the original Daily Show when it was Craig Kilborn as the host. And the field correspondents weren't actually doing any real journalism whatsoever. They would find like some guy who was an Elvis impersonator who stood on the side of a turnpike in New Jersey with a screwdriver in his hand pretending it was a microphone. And like would just constantly be like, what's that in your hand? It's my microphone. What's that in your hand? It's my microphone. What's that in your hand? It's my microphone. What is really in your hand? It's a screwdriver. And it was just like really funny and then like really sad. Like it's That's one of those where it's like, that might be a little too dark. Like, and at first it was funny, and now this is a guy who clearly has mental issues.
Well, yeah, no, you have to pick. Like, you can, like, if I were doing jokes about the two sitting next to me, I could go blue. I could be mean as a. If I don't know you, unless it's you're roasting. That's just kind of part of your set. You say a couple of things like, "Wow, there's a lot of cowboy hats." I don't know. You can do that, but like, I'm never down for like. Hey, this guy's really awkward. Let's rip on him for the next half an hour of my set while he gets progressively more. Because high school never ended. Yeah, I'm not. It's like write a joke.
Yeah.
So, then what are your thoughts on Anthony Jeselnik?
He reminds me of one of the directors of Funimation. He looks just like him. I'll say it after this. Do you know who Anthony Jeselnik is?
No.
Well, I'll show you a picture later.
I saw him on a roast.
Do you know who I'm talking? What director he looks like? We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
He actually, I like Jeselnik because of his format. He is very formulaic, and my favorite type of comedy by far is diversionary. Something that'll make you. It's distracting. My best example of the joke and my favorite kind of comedy was an example of it is Homer Simpson is having an Oedipal nightmare. Bart is sitting there with Marge. Homer's head is on the wall, and Bart says, "Did I say it wrong?" You know the joke.
Homie.
Oh, that's an inside joke from last night. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So Bart is sitting there with Marge in this smoking jacket and in this library, and Homer's head is mounted on a wall. And Bart points to Homer's head and he says, Homer thought that trip to the guillotine factory was just for fun, but that was the perfect time for me to shoot him. And jokes like that is the construction I like, because I want the audience to just the setting up of the expectation, and then just how much can you smack them with that.
Denial of expectation.
I love
is my
it.
favorite
I think it's
device. You're right.
so intelligent because you have to really gauge where you're going, where the audience thinks you're going. You have to think 2 steps ahead of your audience.
Well, and denial of expectation ties into incongruity, which are 2 of the most fun approaches to comedy, in my opinion. Because, yeah, like the hey Joe. What's long and hard and filled with semen?
Your mom?
Bravo.
Acceptable.
Wait, sorry. Your mom found outside dead of hypothermia?
Nice. I would have gone with submarine.
But 6 of 1. Tyson's mom, submarine, same thing.
Submarine, I would have been like, no, it's a cock, you prude bastard.
No, I mean, I've never met your mom, but I do think highly of her, sir. She's a honest and chaste woman. Honest and chaste, okay? Well, I mean, you brought up The Simpsons, and this is one of my questions, is like, do you feel that The Simpsons are still relevant, or do you feel like they're past it's time for them to hang it up? Anyone can answer this.
I've been a Simpsons fan since I was allowed to watch it, which was, I believe, first it was the Bleeding Gums Murphy. The premiere of that episode was the first time I ever got to watch The Simpsons, and I have loved it since. Yes, it's not the Conan years, and we all have to get over the fact that Conan O'Brien is not writing anymore.
Monorail?
What?
Monorail?
Yeah.
Monorail.
Exactly.
Monorail.
We're not going to get those episodes again, but it's the popcorn from my childhood. It's a flavor I like. It still brings me joy, and I'll still watch it as they come out. And they're going to predict our next president.
God, I hope not.
So you two, any thoughts on that?
I love The Simpsons. I think they're great. I am very envious of their voice cast.
Yes.
And their pay scale.
Yes.
Yeah, they've all got a really good gig, so I'm sure that it's going to continue as long as foreseeably
Until
possible.
Harry Shearer asks for just too much money.
Hank Azaria, man, he is absolutely, if you talk about my voiceover heroes, that man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's very open about it. He's like, all I do is impressions.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure Yardley Smith is the real leg breaker out of that whole crew. I remember her from that brief show back in the day, Herman's Head.
Herman's Head. I remember Herman's Head. Yeah.
Which ties into my next series of questions, or just one question in general. You recently posted about Liquid Television. It was back in the day on MTV. So, were there any other old school MTV shows that all of you enjoyed? Because we're all of the same generation, pretty much.
Dragon Ball Z?
I don't know if that was an MTV show, bruh.
I don't know what MTV you were watching, or I was, because I didn't hear that part of it, so I'm going to be quiet and hand this off. MTV shows?
MTV. I liked Liquid Television a lot. I thought Aeon Flux is really, really cool. I loved Beavis and Butthead. In fact, Chris Patton and I went to go see the Beavis and Butthead movie, and I went in there with the lowest of expectations, and I had such a good time. I loved it. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff. A lot of those old dating shows when I was younger, I thought were so much fun.
Jenny
I'm like,
McCarthy days?
yes.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Remote Control.
Remote Control,
That
yes.
was a good one. Yeah, Remote Control. One of my favorites wasn't MTV, but it was a Nickelodeon show. It was Finders Keepers, I think.
Finders Keepers.
And it was a 2-story house that had been like bisected.
Yes.
And they had to like find a key hidden somewhere in the house. And so they have like 2 minutes to run all
Dude,
of
I'm
this, like,
vaguely remembering that.
2-story house and just go through all the drawers and closets and everything. I loved that because I was like, I want to ransack a house. That was awesome.
I mean, there was what was that old Nickelodeon show that was like they would put the kids in the arcade games, you know, like
Dragon Ball? Wait.
But does it?
What does that mean?
See? Expectation? Wow!
But does anyone remember that show? Like they would put the kids would play like arcade games, and then they would go on like this green screen, and they're like all these things were like coming
That
towards
does
them.
sound familiar. Yeah, yeah. I don't remember what it was called though.
I remember the show with the slime.
Oh, you can't say that on you can't do that on television.
Which was Alanis Morissette's first thing.
Allison, don't occur.
Yeah.
Oh.
Cut that out.
And that's where we cut that out, all right? And then we got You Ought to Know because of it.
Yeah.
Allison, don't encourage your mother. I just remember that from.
Oh, wow, yeah?
Well, old MTV shows that I liked back in the day was The States.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. The State rocked. The State was very, very influential on my comedic timing and approach, especially Barry and Levon. Barry and Levon.
$240 worth of pudding. Oh
We could have
yeah.
bought $120 worth of pudding, and it still would have been impressive.
And I gotta go talk, Barry. I gotta go talk to this pudding. Oh baby, you got it going on.
Get in there, Levon. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh.
Well, Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing's playing in the background. Now, the sad thing about that show is they can't re-release. Well, they have released it, but since all those copyright things, like the show has basically been neutered because some of the songs actually played a part. Could you imagine Barry and Levon without Sexual Healing playing in the background?
So true.
So, all right. Boy, it's trying to run 3 interviews all at once while dealing with time constraints. So, all right, okay, I can make this work. So, favorite topic that I like talking about, B movies.
Yes. I can talk about B movies all day.
I take it by Ian's.
No, I don't really want to.
Yeah, but that's
All right.
No, it's like there's a certain amount of the media that we have to research and the media that we have to participate in, that when you get home you have to be very selective with what you watch.
That's fair.
For me, I watch trash cartoons and like I'm gonna watch the new Simpsons. I'm gonna watch the new Family Guy, and that's my downtime thing. Movies for me, I like have to mentally like focus on. So I sadly don't see as many movies as I should. And if they are, they're the big ticket ones that I apparently have to see. It's like I guess I gotta see Shape of Water.
I still haven't seen that.
Oh, it's good.
Or
I
Black
haven't seen it
Panther.
either.
Oh, Black
I know,
Panther's
I'm so
good.
behind.
It's good. It's good.
I'm so sorry. Do you want us to skip over the B movies topic
No,
just so
guys
you
can
two
talk
don't
about-
feel
go
left
for
out?
it.
No, Tyson, feel free, man. Show your
I will
expertise.
jump on the B movie topic.
I mean, wait, quick timeout. I mean, no, it's not a timeout. Like, I know we're at 5:14. I promise I'll get you guys out of here. So,
Yeah, no worries.
okay. So, back to the interview.
Hey, yeah. So B movies. I grew up watching old kung fu movies on Saturday Cinema and everything, and really loved that. Especially when you start getting into some of the more like deep cuts in Hong Kong cinema, like I believe it was many of the movies had multiple alternate titles depending on when and where they were released. Which is a common theme with a lot of B movies. One of my favorite, I digress again. One of my all-time favorites was a Blockbuster find that I got solely because of the title. It was Fred Washington, the guy from Dusk Till Dawn. Anyways, I can't remember his name right now, but he was
Sex Machine?
no, not Sex Machine. That's Tom Savini.
That's correct.
The African American dude. Who was like a Vietnam vet, and he's like telling about how he like crept into the Viet Cong camp with just his knife and everything, and like, anyway, It's
I want to say Fred Brown, but it's not Fred Brown.
He's a classic. He's a classic, like soul cinema veteran, and he was the star of a movie called G.I. Bro.
Wow.
Which was set. It was the original Inglourious Bastards.
Oh.
It was set. They go. They blow up like a Nazi train to derail stuff, and it's all a bunch of miscreants and everybody who are involved. And so I got it because it was called G.I. Bro, and it had the tagline, "If you're a Kraut, he'll take you out." And I was like, that is just trashy enough to really fish hook me. And I watched it, and yeah, it was dynamite.
Was it like Black Dynamite?
Yeah, it was Black Dynamite quality without the self-awareness.
In general, okay, so as far as B movies go, my question is, for B movies specifically, is that the Antonio Banderas or is that the Ray Romano?
Well, for me, B movies are like movies that they have a cult
Really? Am I the
following
only
because-
one? There's actually
Oh, are you talking about like from
literally B movie. I'm making a bad joke. No, I thought, was it Seinfeld? Oh, I thought it was Ray Romano. I was wrong. Seinfeld. My bad. Thank you. That was my question. I'll take my answer off the air.
No, I'm leaving that in.
But wasn't Banderas in one of the B movies? Oh no, he was just Nasonex commercials.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness! Wow. Well,
I hear
Tyson,
B
have you ever
movies
seen
good.
Hard Ticket to Hawaii or Ricky O: The Story of Ricky?
I love Ricky O: The Story of Ricky. It is one of my favorite things of all time.
I proudly own that film, dude.
Yeah, talking about the original Daily Show with Craig Kilborn, that's how I first was aware of the movie Ricky O: The Story of Ricky, because the head smash
Yes.
is on loop during his 5 questions segment. And yeah, Ricky O: The Story. Have you seen the anime?
No, but I've read the entire manga series.
Excellent. Yeah, that is one of the greatest all time.
So, Monica. Fred Williamson, thank you. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Your cat is named Michael Jackson Kapiti Nietzsche III. Was that a play on Edward Wong Hapepalu Tarusky IV from Cowboy Bebop, or was it just a random thing?
No, it was just that I couldn't pick one. And everybody else added names. So, yeah, he has a ton of names. But yeah.
Has it expanded since then?
No, it stayed with those. Although now he lives with my ex, so I think that he's just Jackson now.
Oh, okay. It's like I couldn't find the proper spelling for like the remainder of your cat's name. Like, was Nietzsche based on like the philosopher?
Yeah, Nietzsche, yeah.
Okay. What about Capito?
Pepito is just cute.
Oh, so it's Pepito. Okay, I thought it was Capito.
No, Pepito.
Now, there's a topic that all three of us can easily talk about.
Pepitos?
Rapidos.
Music. So you've mentioned, like in your Monica, you've mentioned in your free time, what little free time you have, you would go out and check local bands and stuff from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Was there like a particular genre that you like, or
I like loud. Anything that's loud and makes me dance, that makes me happy. Unfortunately, I haven't had a lot of time to check out anybody recently because I've just been anime. But normally that was my thing. Now I'm lucky if I get to go see a movie. Like I said, I still haven't seen Black Panther and I'm dying. But yeah, that used to be my thing. I used to be way into like the loud rock shows.
okay, like favorite concert or favorite bands? All of you. I know it's an open-ended question, but I've never conducted a 3-on-1 interview before.
Favorite bands, I mean, there's so many and it changes regularly.
And
Right?
I like it when people are like, I listen to everything. I realize that you listen to everything,
Right.
but there's specific albums that you've probably purchased and owned.
Right now, I'm on a huge Beatles kick. Like, I don't know where it came from, but all of a sudden, I can't stop listening to. I guess so. Maybe I went to the UK too many times. I can't stop listening. There's that end of Abbey Road where they do the, what is it called? Like the whole end part where all the songs go into each other and call back to one another. I just find that fascinating. But before, like my favorite concert. Oh gosh. I went to a Static X show.
No kidding.
Yeah, I used to go to all of those. I've seen Power Man 5000, Static X. I used to go to Ozfest. I got kicked in the head by a big boot at a Glassjaw concert.
Rock and roll.
Like,
I didn't know you were a bit of a metalhead.
Anybody else who liked Static X and Power Man 5000?
loved
I
them.
loved those albums.
I had a huge crush on Spider, and then I found out he was Rob Zombie's brother, and I'm like, with the hair? Yeah, because Rob Rob Zombie he looks like he's probably stinks. So then I was like, I don't know. But Wayne Static, I really, really dug, and I'm sad when he passed. I was very, very sad because I thought there was.
Yeah, he did pass away.
Yeah.
Like my only memory of Wayne Static is I saw Static X open up for Pantera back in the day. So it was like Static X scraped Pantera. Well, Static X scraped Morbid Angel, Slayer, and Pantera. So the crowd was like booing Static X off the stage and like chucking stuff at him left and right.
Which sucks because they were so great at the sampling before everybody really started sampling like crazy. Like they were so good at sampling from like crazy horror films and things that you would never ever think of to sample. And just I thought they were really awesome.
Well, and that's I would agree, but at the same time, you got to look at your target audience.
That's
If you're on with 3 heavy hitters with Pantera, Slayer, and Morbid Angel, you're probably not going to last that long.
Yeah, and they didn't like the new metal as much as they said new and you umlaut.
And you.
Yeah, I had a phase back in the day. I was into Korn and Limp Bizkit.
Hey, man, we've all been there. We've all been there.
Definitely a support group.
So what about you, Ian? Favorite concerts? And
I would say either Yo Gabba Gabba or The Wiggles. Those, oh my God.
Works
I've
for
never,
me.
just the energy in that room.
No Peter, Paul, and Mary?
Not unless I've eaten Mexican food lately.
That's
I
fair.
have very specific musical tastes.
That's fair.
You know my musical taste because of your last interview, so I'm giving you The Wiggles as my answer.
No, that's fine.
That's a
like,
thing,
I had a
right?
whole nother.
That's a thing children listen to, right?
I had like a whole nother thing for that, but like I'm actually cutting this short.
Tool, Metallica.
That's been your favorite concert that you've been to?
No, Metallica put on the best show that I've seen. Perfect Circle and Tool. I can't decide which one put on a better one. I got to see Maynard more in the Tool one because he refuses to let himself be seen in his Perfect Circle.
So thoughts on the upcoming Perfect
Can't
Circle
wait.
album?
It's going to be great. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it's going to be, but I love, kind of like The Simpsons, kind of like Metallica. I'll always enjoy that familiar flavor.
What about you, Tyson?
I got to see AC/DC like 3 days before Brian Johnson was kicked out of the band.
Wow.
So that was cool, but his voice was totally going. So it was like, I get it. But, you know, that was rock and roll. I also just played, I opened for one of my favorite bands, the Lillingtons. And that was like a check mark off of my like bucket list of things I really hope to do one day. They're one of my all-time favorite bands. They just came out with their first album in like 11 years, and it's rockin'. It kicks ass. It's very Lovecraft-inspired, still punk rock, but with like a real 80s feel to it. Like there's one song that opens, and you're like, "Is this Rebel Yell?" Because awesome. And then like it's not. And you're like, "Okay, it's still great."
So as we're wrapping this up, what is new that you're allowed to talk about that you would like to promote, folks?
Well, we're still working on Super.
Dragon Ball Super!
I do have to interrupt on that one.
Yeah.
So they recently, Super is now done in Japan, and I highly doubt that it will be the end of the Dragon Ball franchise altogether. They'd just be foolish after this resurgence. But if it was the end, would you two be content with what you've been able to contribute to the series?
No, I want more. No, I'm serious. No, seriously, like it's been such a blast just being a part of it. I would hope that it would continue and not just be like, yay, here you go. Now we're going to wait another 10 years before we release anything. But yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. Like, I think Super's been such a great show. And I'm really excited for us to finish what I know is out there already.
We had people coming through our lines not 30 minutes ago, like telling us, like, hey, man, like, did you hear the Super's, like, it's just a hiatus and they're going to come back after that? I'm like, do you have that in writing somewhere?
That'd be awesome, but I don't believe it until I see it.
Exactly. You stop getting your hopes up and you're just happy you got to be a part of it, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm voicing Sakura in Card Captor Sakura Clear Card, which is like going back to my childhood, which is awesome. And then Death March to a Parallel Universe? Death March is what we call it.
Okay.
What about you guys?
I'm PP Me and Bob Epic Team.
And then the Wiggles?
And I moonlight for the Wiggles. Y'all don't know that's me, but it is.
I'm currently writing and playing a character in Basilisk Oka Ninja Scrolls. I get to play a 17th century ninja, and that's pretty cool. My body's trying to explode the entire time. That's also pretty cool. But yeah, outside of that, I have gotten to luckily jump in and do a bunch of random voices in Pop Team Epic. One of which was Die Hard era Bruce Willis, which I was very happy to get to do. There's I honestly, there's tons of things that I can't even remember right now, but they're all fun.
So if people wanted to find you online, Tyson, where could they go?
You can go on Twitter. I'm at Attack on Tyson. I also have a Facebook page for the time being, at least, and that's Tyson Rinehart, voice actor.
Ian, where could they find you online?
At Ian Tweeting on Twitter. I just deleted Facebook.
And Monica, I know that you have a Patreon page.
I
Would you
do.
like to promote that too?
I have a Patreon page. Right now it's just $1 a month, and you get all of my videos that eventually go on my YouTube channel, all about voice acting in the industry and little insights and tips and tricks. I also have my Instagram and my Twitter, which is at Rialisms, RIALISMS. And then I have a Facebook group that I have some wonderful people who moderate that for me. And that is the fans of Monica Rial. They call themselves the Rialists, which is really cool. And it's a fun little place to hang out. And I try to check in on all of those places daily, and it's really hard because there's so many. But yeah, those are the best, probably the best place to find me is Twitter.
Okay, and Monica, what would you like to say to your fans throughout the years?
Oh my God, I love you guys. Thank you for being so supportive. And I mean, I seriously wouldn't be here without you. So just know, every time I stay late at an autograph session, every time I make a video, every time I do anything like that, it's all for you guys because you rock.
Tyson, how about yourself? I'll get to you in a moment, Ian.
I love you guys. Thank you for keeping me somewhat relevant. Please check out my band Bullet Machine if you're not familiar with it. We're on Spotify now, which is cool. We've arrived. And don't eat the yellow snow.
Okay, Frank Zappa. All right. And Ian, finally, last time as we finished our interview, you gave some cooking advice how to rest your meat.
I almost did it again.
What other life tips do you want to share as we're closing out?
As you were like, I was about to grab that thing and I was like, hey man, rest your meat. It was at the rest your meat thing?
Yeah, that's what you pulled on me the last time.
Well,
so any
you
other
need to.
life tips you want to throw out?
Anytime you cook with any liquids, make sure it's one that you like a wine or a beer. Make sure it's one that you would be willing to drink because that flavor is directly imparted into it. If it's a crap wine and you make a bolognese with that, it's gonna taste like crap wine. You do something that you're willing to drink.
All right, well, folks, thank you also so much for granting this interview with me. Well,
thank you.
No problem. Well, folks, this is Joe from MIGeekScene here with Monica Rial, Ian Sinclair, and Tyson Rinehart. I'd like to say auf Wiedersehen and adios.
Goodbye.